All right, everyone, welcome to another edition of the Good Life Small Business Podcast. I'm your host, Brian Blakely, and I am happy to be joined today by RaChell Merklin, owner of Smallcakes here in Kearney and in Papillion. So, RaChell, thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. Thank you for wanting to do this with us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Appreciate it.
So let's get to know you a little bit. Tell us, are you reading or listening to any books right now?
That's a good question. Owning two stores, I have this one and in Papillion. I really don't have a lot of time to read. I would love to, but
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I'll save that for retirement. So, no, not really. I would like to eventually, but yeah, as of right now, I got to focus everything to the businesses.
It's the life of a small business owner.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
How about podcasts? Do you have a chance to listen to those?
I don't, but I think that's something that I need to start doing when I travel back and forth to Omaha. I think that'd be a great opportunity to do that. So I'm probably going to start doing that.
Well, there you go. Great. Well, let's get to know you and just to hear the story of Smallcakes. I'm really interested. I know that you guys are up at the mall. You got this new location down here on 2nd Avenue now. But just kind of go through, before we hit record, you said that, if you would have mentioned this 10 years ago that you'd be a small business owner, you probably would have laughed. And so I'm just interested to hear how all this happened. You've got two stores, and just kind of explain to us the journey of how Smallcakes here in Kearney came to be.
All right. Well, I would love to say that I've always wanted to be a baker and have my own bakery and all of that, but actually the opposite. My husband, I'll say we were originally from Kearney,
Okay.
High school sweethearts, got married, and he joined the Coast Guard. So then we moved all over the United States
Okay.
for 24 years, had 3 children, and towards the end of it, when he was getting ready to retire, he wanted to open his own business. He's always wanted to do that.
Okay.
I'm thinking maybe a gun store or, something like that, but
Sure.
not a bakery. He's a pilot, and so he and some friends of ours wanted to actually do a crop dusting business.
Okay.
And that's what they were looking at to come back here. And that kind of fell through. And they had friends that owned a Smallcakes in Corpus Christi, which was where we were at the time. And so they approached us and asked us if we wanted to be partners. And my husband was just biting at the bit to have his own business.
Yeah.
And so it's funny that we have a cupcake shop.
There you go.
And when I was approached by it, I'm like, absolutely not, because I've done real estate for years in all different states and whatnot.
Okay.
And so that was my intention. And I'm like, I will manage this, but I will not work it. Well, 7 years later, I have 2 shops, and I love it. And where I said I'd never decorate cakes, I enjoy that as well. And yeah, I'd never say never, because
The best laid plans, huh?
absolutely.
So what do you love about it?
Well, I love the people, which was the hardest thing for me, was learning to manage. That's a specialty. It takes a special someone, I think, to do that and be a good boss.
Mm-hmm.
Because I always believe in treating others like I want myself to be treated, and that's really hard. Plus, I'm a pleaser, and so when you want to please everybody, that's not always going to happen.
Right.
And so now I enjoy it. I really enjoy it. The people are amazing. Most of my staff have been with me for a long time, and they're like family. So I would say that's the thing I love about it the most. The flexibility, because I own the shop.
Yep.
Actually, I want to say I own it, my husband, Carrie, and then my cousin, Twyla Naggs. We're all owners, 3 owners of it, so it's not just me.
Right.
And then, of course, the people that work for me, I wouldn't have what I have or be able to accomplish what I have without them.
Yeah.
They're the ones that get it all done for me.
Sure. Yeah. So at what point, did you start out managing and then it just kind of evolved into, you loving the business, and I assume you're here pretty much every day?
Well, little bits and pieces.
Okay.
My goal has always been to have my shops run without me.
Sure.
And I always feel like you still have, an owner has to have part to play in it, just to keep an eye on it. I think that's important. But I finally, after 7 years, have it to where I'm not here all the time. I can do work from home. I can do other things. The first probably 4 to 5 years, yes, I was all the time. I could not leave very often without biting my nails, not knowing what was going on. But now the staff I have, they're wonderful. And the ladies that I have running the shop in Papillion, they don't even have to work. They do it because they love it.
Really?
And it shows. And they have just grown that leaps and bounds. I keep telling them they need to buy it from me.
Yeah.
But they don't want to do that. They just enjoy working, and it shows, because it's definitely, our business there is gone from, we were at Midlands Place for 5 years, right next to the hospital off of 370 and 84th.
Okay.
That was a very hard spot. Doing new isn't necessarily better. So after 5 years, we moved the shop 2 years ago, and we are across from Target and Home Depot.
This is the shop in Papillion.
In Papillion,
okay.
Yes. And moving it closer into Papillion, we're still right off of 84th, and then it's an older outdoor establishment.
Okay.
And so it's been phenomenal. It's been really good.
Great.
So yeah.
Great. I guess one question that I've got, so Smallcakes is a franchise.
It is. Yep.
What are some of the challenges as being a franchisee?
We actually were just bought out.
Okay.
Jeff Martin started the business in 2008.
Okay.
And I mean, it's grown like crazy. There's over 100 stores in the United States, and I think we have one in Bali or something like that. But he, bless his heart if he sees this, he was great at starting the business, but he's not really good at managing the business. And so I know myself and other owners would say the same thing, is just the lack of just helping us, guiding us.
Right.
We've had no guidance. And so with that, it's a good thing and it's a bad thing, because the good thing is we do our own thing. We still follow the recipes and that kind of thing.
Yep.
But we've added a lot more. Most Smallcakes don't do custom cakes, and we do that. We do cake pops and all sorts of other things.
Sure.
So without those extras, I'm not sure we would be able to sustain and stay in business. And so with that, it's definitely helped us. But I think the most challenging is not having help and guidance.
Yeah. Was that more difficult in the beginning?
It was. Now we're so used to it, it's, I don't want it.
Right. You want the freedom.
We want the freedom, and we've just been bought out. Or he just sold the business.
Yeah.
And so we have no idea what to expect. It's kind of hard to, for new owners to come in and start, tightening the belt and controlling what we're doing when we've not had any of that. So that's going to be hard and challenging.
Yeah.
We'll see how that goes.
Yeah. And I thank you for answering that. It's a whole different dynamic to be a small business owner and be a franchisee, I think. I don't have any experience with it, but I just, as joining a franchise, that support, at least initially, is kind of probably what you're paying that fee for.
Exactly.
But having the ability and the freedom to kind of do what you want is there. So, just anyone that may be listening to this that thinks about starting a franchise, I think that's just an interesting side of it that is different than maybe other small business owners.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said in the beginning, I think it would have been wonderful.
Yeah.
I know we were asking for it. We needed it. We needed that guidance, and didn't get it. But then, you know what? You either sink or you swim.
Right.
And we've managed to swim. We made it through COVID. Actually, COVID was our best year.
Wow.
For
Good
not
for you.
necessarily for the Carney store. We did have a little bit of a lull there, but Papillion was busier than they've ever been, and then we definitely came back around full force. So as far as what we did in sales, COVID was the best year. So we're pretty blessed with that.
That's great.
Yeah.
Awesome. So let's just lead into that question then of what the pandemic was like for you. And you can go back a year and a half ago for both stores. Obviously, sales and Papillion were great, but just kind of talk about that time period for you as a small business owner. You know, the fear, the anxiety, okay, what are we going to do now? Just kind of walk through that process and what it was like with Smallcakes.
Right. Well, every day, I'm sure, just even people that were working, not necessarily owned a business, every day was changing so fast.
Yeah.
I mean, every day was a new thing. We didn't know, you know, we were changing our hours constantly to try to just make everything work.
Yeah.
And not have to shut down. We did not shut down. In Kearney, we basically closed our doors. We did special orders, and then we do curbside, and we do deliveries and those kind of things.
Okay.
And that helped us stay open.
Yeah.
In Papillion, we did all those things, but we completely opened our doors. So other places that were closing during that time, we then were getting Omaha people coming over. And so that helped other areas that normally would come to Papillion
Sure.
for the bakery
Yeah.
came over. And so, but yeah, it was hard. It was very stressful, not knowing every day what was going to happen. And then, of course, when we got the PPP, Payroll Protection Program, I believe it's called, that helped us too. That was wonderful. And again, Papillion was fine. Kearney did feel that, you know, that hit a little bit.
Sure.
And so that helped carry us through. But we just started coming up with crazy ideas. So one of them was we called them our crap pack.
Okay.
So we had to make fun of the situation,
Sure.
just make light of it. But so we had a poop emoji cupcake
Okay.
with a toilet paper
Okay.
cupcake. So we sold those in packs. So
Nice.
yeah, and those went crazy, absolutely crazy. And then we started doing, like, if it was Christmas time, we did Christmas Santa crap packs. You know, every holiday we would do something with those.
Sure.
And we still are doing them a little bit. Of course, they've definitely slowed down a little
Right.
bit. But we did that. We started doing like decorating kits to go. So
Okay.
then, because people, you know, families were looking at things to do in their homes and still have fun, and so those went really well. Decorating cakes, we do a small cake, and then we'd send we would send you know, different colors and tips and whatnot with them, and so that went over well. So yeah, we just started getting creative on the different things that we were doing.
Yeah.
And that helped.
Yeah. I think people can appreciate the humor and what you were doing with the crap packs, and
Most people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not everybody,
Right.
but most people.
well,
Yeah.
just kind of given the situation, I think that you know, people can appreciate that, and that's I think it's a great story for the Papillion Store because it probably gave you exposure
Big time.
that you hadn't had before.
Right.
I mean, being open where people could come in and come into the store, people had never heard of you before, so it gave you exposure that you may not have gotten otherwise.
Oh no, absolutely. It was, and my husband said that it was so funny when things started happening, just every day changing. He's like, you know what, this might be a good thing as long as we can keep our people healthy.
Sure.
You know, and we did. We tried to follow the best that we could with all of the, you know, we tried to do that anyway. You know,
Right.
that was really nothing new, but you know, wearing our masks and that kind of stuff. But we had, I think, 3 out of all of our employees there that got COVID. And so we were able to keep our doors open. And with that, yeah, it was a blessing because then people started coming where they couldn't get, I know that there are several other cake or bakeries that almost shut down.
Yep.
And I know that they were hurting really bad. And I feel bad for them because I know as a business owner, that's so scary.
Oh yeah.
But we definitely felt blessed with that. So
Yeah, that's great. When did you open the Papillion Store as opposed to the Kearney Store? Have they been open about the same time?
The Papillion Store is open first.
Okay.
In June of 2014.
Okay.
Our mission, and at that time we had our other partners that we first went into this with, they opened up the Papillion.
Okay.
So what we were going to do is open that up, get that off the ground, and then a year later, our intention was to open a store here, and then we would run that and oversee it. And they were also military, and her husband wasn't able to get out right away, and so she was doing a lot of it herself.
Okay.
And she had 3 younger kids, and she was a nurse as well, so very, very hard on her. Yeah. And so she decided a year into it that she just couldn't do it. And by then we had already started opening on the shop here.
Okay.
And so we bought them out, and then that's where my cousin Twyla came in. She wanted to come in as well as a partner. And so that was a hard time because at the same time, the road in front of us was doing construction and they were shutting down. And so to get to us, you needed to know where we were, and you needed to be willing to do the little craziness to get into the mall.
In Papillion or?
In Papillion.
Okay.
This is before we moved to Terra Plaza.
Okay.
And so that about killed us.
Yeah.
And we've gone through several hurdles, and that was probably one of the biggest hurdles is just not knowing if we were going to be able to stay open then because of the lack of customers. We had, I think, in that plaza, I think there was like 3 or 4 businesses that went out of business during that time because it was so bad.
Yeah.
But we managed. We were known as the cupcake shop that wouldn't quit.
Yeah.
So again, made adjustments, was flexible on how we had to do stuff. And then over the course, we got this shop opened, was doing great. I then hired the 2 ladies I was talking about, Cindy and Nancy, and they were phenomenal. I couldn't even afford to hire one of them, but I hired both of them.
Yep.
Just a leap of faith there. It was the best decision I ever did for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about the challenges of having 2 different locations, of just running, you said at the beginning that if you're at home, you're doing paperwork, and I assume that you are doing paperwork for both locations.
Absolutely.
But just, getting one up and running is hard enough, and it is for any small business owner.
Mm-hmm.
Just talk about the challenges, and you've got 2 different locations that are 3 hours apart. So just talk about those challenges.
Well, I'd have to say that the challenges are so much easier now. We can see the light at the end of the tunnel. Before, when we were busy opening this up, I was trying to, again, new business owner, didn't have a whole lot of direction. And so trying to get this open and running, and then being able to watch over the shop. And I did not have, God sent me a wonderful, basically I hired a high school student, and her mom came in and started baking for me there, and she kept the store open for me. And then when we hired the other 2 ladies a few years later, then they just took it to a whole nother level. And so at that time, every day was on my knees. I was scared, praying because I didn't know what was going to happen.
Sure.
Not being able to be in control, and had already started opening this up, it would have been completely different if that would have happened before we had started the business here. And so lots of sleepless nights at the first, I'd say, 3 years of it, just not knowing. And then once I started getting my key people in place, and they wanted to grow the business. Their vision was, we don't want to just sustain it, we want to grow it, and they have. It's just been crazy how, we are known all over now, and it's because of those 2 young ladies. Yeah. I say young, they're my age.
You can't put a price on that, though.
No.
And the thing that you said is control. I think, even as a small business owner, when you're starting out, even for you walking in here in Kearney, there's a level of, even though things may be chaotic, you can be here and be present here,
right, and
have control there. Where 3 hours away, if you don't have someone that necessarily wants to build the culture or the business, it just makes it that much more difficult. And when you said control, that resonated with me. Like I get that.
Yeah, and when it's your all your money on the line and everything you put into it, and if it doesn't, if they can't build it and sustain it, then it's going to go under, and then of course you lost, and then we are still connected with the lease. All those things
Sure.
are pretty scary as a business owner. But they've taken it, so no, I don't worry. People are like, oh, are you there all the time? I'm like, no, I'm not. I used to be. But now I maybe once a month, maybe twice a month, depending on what's going on, because if
Sure.
they have big events, I'll go up and help them. But yeah, no, I don't have to be. And then the girls here that I have in place, they're phenomenal as well. And so I feel like I'm not married to
Sure.
the shops.
Yeah.
So after 7 years, I feel like I'm being able to start, to breathe a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the other thing I want to touch on is that you said earlier that I want to come back to is, I know that I struggle with this as a small business owner, but you get to where you're in your trade and you want it to succeed, and like the sleepless nights. But there comes a point in time where, as a business owner, you own the business, and that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be in the day-to-day operations running the show.
Right.
For some, that's what they want. But to be a small business owner, for some, it's being able to have a machine that operates on its own.
Right, and that's what I'm working for.
Yeah. So did you get to a point, like, is that what you always wanted with this? Or when you got started, did you think, I'm probably going to be doing this every day for the rest of my life? But
I was worried I would be.
Yeah, yeah.
Praying that I wouldn't be. No, again, when we opened this shop, started into this one here, my goal was never to be a part of running it and working it. Mine was to manage it and oversee it.
Yeah.
I would do the business side of it, the marketing, those kind of things, which I'm trying to get myself to where I can do now again. But no, my intention was to just oversee it. I didn't want anything to do with decorating. I didn't. If you asked any of the people that knew me beforehand, I'm like, nope, definitely not doing cakes.
Yeah.
Well, now I'm doing them, and I love to do them.
Did you decorate?
Yeah, no, I can definitely decorate, but I don't want to be here to have to do that
Sure.
all the time, just because I know how much other things I have to do that these guys can't see. They don't know, because there is a whole business side of not just working it, but then keeping up with the bills and payroll and emails and just different things that come along, and doing things like this, being able to take time to do stuff like this is
to
really
work
important.
On the business, not in the business.
Yes, you got it.
And I think that there's something to be said too about, if you take a step back and look at what you have empowered your employees here and your employees in Papillion, what you've empowered them to do, where they can be creative, they can do something that they love to do, they can grow a business, help you grow a business, but they're passionate about it as well. You're empowering other people to do something that they love, and that, as a small business owner, that's another aspect that you may not get into it with that perspective, but giving people an opportunity to do something they love, that's kind of it's a very rewarding feeling as a small business owner, but not one that you maybe get into your business for.
Right, yeah, well, and I think what I've seen and what I've experienced, again, it's just been 7 years, but being able to have them have input in everything, even decorating, doing the store, doing the store in Papillion, I had them involved, because they're the ones that are working it day after day. And I want them to have say-so, and when they do that, they feel like they have ownership in it.
Sure.
And so I definitely can't pay them as much as they're worth, but I think just the other things that are really important, we are very flexible. I try very hard if they need time off whenever, we try to grant that.
Sure.
Doesn't always happen, but for the most part it does. So I think just having them involved with everything. I'm probably too open with everything.
Right.
My husband's like, they don't have to know that. I'm like, but they should know, because if they know where we're at and where we're trying to go, they can't get there and help me get there unless they know what's going on.
Right.
Business-wise, financially, the whole nine yards.
Yeah. Transparency is important, especially when you're talking about culture. You don't start out building a culture like, I think for me, it kind of, it's fluid. Like it evolves on what you want your culture to look like. It's not how it starts out right away, but being transparent, being honest, and letting your employees have buy-in, where they have some investment in, you know, what goes out. And if it's something that's successful, they can take pride in that too. That's huge.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's funny because when we're creating cakes, because we're a custom cake, we can design cakes.
Yeah.
And there's so many times that they'll be frustrated because it's not coming, you know, we all as a team get together and how can we do this?
Right.
And make it work. And when they get it done and they, you know, get over that hurdle and make it happen, I mean, just the fact that they did it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, see, I knew you could do it.
Yep.
You just have to push past it. And so, yeah, no, it's great when they see the rewards of what they can do.
That's awesome. That's awesome. What's one thing you wish you were better at with your business?
There's a lot of things, but I would say a couple things. I think being a good boss and being understanding, there's a fine line too of then being, I am the boss, and you need to, you know, respect that.
Yeah.
So sometimes I have a harder time being that hard hand, and I'm more of the, okay, you know, I'll give in.
Right.
And so I think over the course of time I've gotten better at it. But again, being that the actual boss, that's hard for me. And I don't like to have to be the one that talks to them or, you know, whatever, or get in between, because women are catty. So there's always issues. I got to talk to everybody.
Right.
And that's funny because Papillion too, if I'm up there and visiting with them at least once a month, twice a month, everything runs smoothly. But if I, for whatever reason, I don't have to go up there, I can't, then it's like catty.
Something happens.
So then I gotta talk to them. And I don't like that part. And I wish I could be better at that.
Sure.
So I'd say that's probably the biggest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And being able to step back, like you were talking about before, to actually work on the business, you can help solve those issues if you don't have to worry about all of the ins and outs of the business and things like that. Not that it doesn't make it any less stressful, but you've got a little bit less on your plate if you take a step back that way. So yeah, it's good. Is this what you thought it would be, this whole thing, or is it completely different?
Both, I guess.
Yeah.
Again, I never thought I would. If you asked me 10 years ago, I would have said, no, that you're crazy, not going to do that. So no, because I would not have thought that I could have done the cakes or would be loving that type of thing.
Right.
Where I do now, I really enjoy it. And but as far as business, I had no clue what to even expect, honestly. Because again, this was never my idea.
Sure.
I'd like to say it was, but it wasn't. And so I am right now where we started, where we are now. I never thought that we could have gotten here either, because of all the hard. You really, as a small business owner, you have to push through the hard times.
Yeah.
Because there is an end to it. I mean, well, there's always going to be hard times, but you know what I mean. I never thought we'd finally get here. I never thought I'd be able to breathe and have extra time and have a life, but I'm definitely getting there.
Yeah, good for you. So if you could go back 10 years, would there be any advice you would give yourself?
Yes.
Definitive,
Yes, get a business degree.
Yeah.
If you're going to be in business, you should know how to do that. I mean, sink or swim, you're going to figure it out, and yeah, a trial and error, that's probably the best learning, but having the knowledge behind it firsthand would have made my life so much easier. So yeah, I definitely would recommend that.
And are you,
much so,
like, from the aspect of like the financial side or just the management side?
Everything, yeah, because I didn't have any of it. Again, I did real estate for like 15 years.
Sure.
So I had no idea, and to get in there and to figure out how to price things, you know how to the whole thing, you know. And then again, managing employees, that was very, very difficult for me at the beginning, you know. And so I would say if I could have had that degree, I'm sure they would have taken me through pretty much all of that. And yes, there's nothing better than, you know, first-hand experience.
Sure.
But I think I would have at least had some kind of background to
Right.
help me with, you know. And with not really having a whole lot of help from the franchise, made it even harder.
Yeah,
So
I'm sure it did.
that's what I would recommend.
Got it. So one of your employees comes to you, one of your kids comes to you, someone comes up to you and they say, I want to start a small business, whether it's a bakery or a restaurant or a retail store. What advice would you give them?
Well, the biggest thing is just know that you're going to have time. You know, it's not going to be easy. And if you're not willing to give at least a good 3 to 5 years to get through that first initial part of it, don't do it.
Right.
Because the one thing that I guess I am strong at is I don't give up.
Yeah.
And I have to be dead first before I give up. And so that has helped me and my faith in God, because let me tell you, there's a lot of times that I had to, again, get on my knees and pray. But definitely the time is, you've got to give yourself time.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it's not, I mean, there are businesses I'm sure that take off just like that and they're just going great from the beginning. But most, I would say, probably are not that way.
Yeah. Those that do that are rare. The ones that trudge along one step in front of the other, that's your most common, I think.
Yeah, and do your research. And I mean financially, everything. Do your research, because that way you know what you're getting into.
Yeah.
And I feel like we did a little bit of that, but we could have done a whole lot more. And if I would have known before where the role that I was going to have to play, that I was kind of pushed into, I would have done that. I would have made sure that I knew a little better as to what I was doing, but I just never thought that I would be working in the business.
Right.
So,
Right. Got it. So we've talked this whole time, and I really haven't given you a chance to talk about what Smallcakes does, what you cupcakes, custom cakes. Just tell us a little bit about all of the different array of things that you guys do and what you offer.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Smallcakes is based on cupcakes, Smallcakes, and that's really what the franchise is cupcakes. And cupcake and a milkshake. That's what they designed, which they're amazing. We have 3 sizes. We have minis, which is about 1.5 bites, and we have mediums, which is what you would bake at home, normal cupcakes, and then we sell jumbos out front every day. We have over 200 flavors that we kind of try to cycle through. We have 13 daily flavors every day that we do. And so usually with cupcakes you can give us a day or 2 notice and we can get them done for you. But we also then started doing cakes, and that is really our bread and butter, are the cakes. So we do custom cakes, we do wedding cakes, you know, pretty much you show us what you're thinking, and we usually can create it. There's some stuff that we will turn down. That's beyond us. But for the most part, we do pretty good. And so cakes, we then started doing cake pops. That was the whole reason that I hired Nancy in Papillion, my store manager, because she was cake pop queen and she had that down, and I'm like, well, we can definitely bring that to our business. And so she has taught us well, and they sell very, very well. We do cupcake bouquets. So you can have your flowers in your cake too. They're very pretty. We do regular milkshakes as well. So if you wanted just a regular ice cream shake, we can do that as well. But the cupcake and milkshake, you pick out your cupcake and we make a milkshake out of it for you.
Sounds amazing.
Amazing. We do royal iced cookies, and what else do we do? I mean, everything we do kind of revolves around cakes. Because that is who we are. And, you know, we've tried other things, and we've tried, you know, just, I guess, broadening, if I can say that word right, our menu, but when you do something really good, that's what you really need to stick
Yeah.
with. And I guess that's another thing that I would give advice to, is sticking to what you do best.
Mm-hmm.
And so we do that. You know, cakes are definitely, I wouldn't say we're a full-fledged bakery.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're not. We don't do all the other, you know, cinnamon rolls and those
Sure.
kind of things. Maybe eventually someday, I don't know. You know, but yeah. So I would say anything that has to do with cakes, we do it.
Cinnamon roll milkshake sounds good.
That does sound good. Sounds really good. We do cinnamon roll cupcakes,
Perfect.
and they are very, very good.
There you go. Where can we find you? Social media, Instagram, Facebook. Give us your website, and then of course the new address here on 2nd Avenue.
Okay, new address is 2222 2nd Avenue,
Okay.
Suite 100.
Yep.
And then Papillion is 814 Terra Plaza.
Okay.
And our website is smallcakesofnebraska.com.
Okay.
And then, did you want our emails too, or just that?
If you wanna give out emails, if people wanna email orders in, absolutely.
Sure. And all of that can be found on our
On the
website too.
okay.
Right, yeah. But smallcakesofcarney@gmail.com.
Okay.
Smallcakesofomaha at selfsarpy, can't say that, selfsarpy.com.
Okay. And as far as social media,
Social media, we are on Facebook every day,
Okay.
Instagram every day.
okay.
We update what we are having, our specialty cupcakes on our website too,
Okay.
every day. Yes.
Do you do Pinterest or anything?
No,
No?
not
Okay.
yet.
Not
No.
yet. Okay.
Yep.
All right. RaChell, thanks so much. I've seen you guys up at the mall before. It's a pleasure to sit down and get to know you, and it's a pleasure to sit down and get to know more about the store. I personally, before I started doing some research, didn't know that you were in Papillion, so that's great to know. And it was just a great conversation. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. I really feel honored that you wanted to interview us. So thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you.